Between 1998 and 2000, a shadow fell over Belize City. A monster was hunting in broad daylight. 5 young schoolgirls, none older than 14, vanished into thin air. He struck without warning, left almost no trace, and terrorized an entire nation. They called him the Belize Ripper. For over 2 decades, this has remained the most chilling cold case in the country's history. But here is the most terrifying detail: when the body of the first victim was found, she was wearing the clothes of another missing girl, a girl the police hadn't even found yet. This wasn't just murder. It was a sick, calculated game. Who was this faceless killer with surgical precision? Could he actually be one of America's most notorious, convicted serial killers who secretly traveled to Belize? And why, after 2 years of pure horror, did the killings suddenly stop? Stay tuned, because today we are opening the darkest cold case files of Belize. The evidence is sitting in a modern DNA lab right now, waiting for a name. And the truth is more disturbing than you can ever imagine. The Belize Ripper, 5 girls lost, a nation terrorized, a case still cold. Between 1998 and 2000, Belize City, a small coastal city in a country with fewer than 500,000 people, was gripped by a fear it had never known. An unidentified killer was hunting schoolgirls. He struck without warning, left almost no trace, and vanished each time as quickly as he had appeared. Belizeans came to know him by a chilling nickname borrowed from Victorian London's most infamous unsolved case, the Belize Ripper, sometimes called Jack the Butcher. More than 2 decades later, despite help from the FBI and Scotland Yard, no one has ever been convicted. It remains the most haunting cold case in the country's history. The first disappearance, Shirley Nicholas. The nightmare began on September 8, 1998. 13-year-old Shirley Nicholas, a 5th grade student at Wesley Upper School in southern Belize City, set off to school one morning and never arrived. For over a month, her family had no answers. On October 9, her body was found in a pool of water near the George Price Highway. She had been stabbed more than 40 times in the head and chest, one arm nearly severed, her face slashed open. The autopsy also showed signs of rape. But one detail made investigators' blood run cold: Shirley's body was dressed in clothes that were not her own. They belonged to another missing girl, one nobody had connected to her case yet. The girl who was never found, Jay Blades. That other girl was 9-year-old Jay Blades, who had vanished just 2 days before Shirley's body was discovered. For 6 months, Jay's fate was a mystery. Then, only a skull and a handful of bones were recovered, all that remained of her. She had essentially disappeared into the landscape, and to this day, no one has ever been charged in connection with her death. The overlap between the 2 cases, one girl found wearing a missing girl's clothing, convinced investigators from the start that they were dealing with a single, calculating perpetrator, not a string of coincidences. A pattern emerges: Jackie Malik. On March 23, 1999, 12-year-old Jackie Fern Malik vanished during recess while playing on her school playground in broad daylight, an abduction so brazen it terrified parents across the city. 2 days later, her body was found face down in a puddle along a dirt road near where Shirley had been discovered. She had been stabbed repeatedly, her left arm severed, and evidence suggested she may have also been struck by a vehicle. Chillingly, Jackie's own neighbor, a 40-year-old auto mechanic named Michael Williams, had reportedly offered her and her sister a ride shortly before she disappeared. They declined. Williams became the only person ever formally charged in the case. He was arrested after Jackie's body was found, but while he sat in police custody, another girl vanished, proof, ultimately, that he could not have been the killer. He was released for lack of evidence and alibis that held up. The long search for Erica Wills. On June 26, 1999, 8-year-old Erica Wills disappeared. Her absence wasn't even noticed for 3 days. She'd been expected to stay with relatives, and the mix-up meant no one raised an alarm until it was far too late. On July 18, Her skeletal remains were found behind a quarry in Gracie Rock, about 20 miles west of Belize City. Her mother identified her only by a hairband and a Tweety bird ring that Erica always wore, a small, devastating detail that captured how young she truly was. By this point, panic had spread through the entire country. Parents held candlelight vigils. Police imposed a curfew on children. Schools posted guards at their gates. Belize was doing everything it could think of to protect its daughters, and still, the killer struck once more. The final victim, Noemi Hernandez. On February 15, 2000, 14-year-old Noemi Hernandez went missing while running an errand on Mosul Street. 9 days later, her mutilated body turned up on a sandy mound at the mouth of the Belize River, with multiple stab wounds to the face and neck and several body parts missing. Her father could only identify her by the blue jeans she wore. He reportedly clung to the hope, even then, that it wasn't her. Noemi was the last confirmed victim. After her murder, the killings simply stopped as abruptly as they had started. The forensic clue that chilled investigators. In 2000, pathologist Dr. Mario Estrada Bran, who performed the autopsies, delivered a finding that deepened the horror. All 5 girls appeared to have been drugged with alcohol before they were killed, and every wound across all 5 cases seemed to have been made with the same instrument. The precision of the cuts led investigators to suspect the killer had medical knowledge or access to surgical tools, someone who knew exactly where and how to cut. Authorities also raised the unsettling possibility that more than one person may have been involved. The cases that weren't the Rippers. Amid the panic, 3 other girls were murdered in Belize under disturbingly similar circumstances, but all 3 were eventually solved and linked to different perpetrators entirely, a reminder of how much violence was hitting the country at once. Samantha Gordon, 15, found dead at sea near Ladyville in November 1998, 4 men were later convicted of her murder. Karen Cruz, 10, abducted from her home's veranda in Orange Walk Town in June 1999, her own uncle was ultimately convicted. Rebecca Becky Gilari, 13, found near a Mayan archaeological site in February 1999, a family friend was convicted of her rape and murder. Their cases were resolved. The 5 attributed to the Ripper never were. A red car and a stocking mask. In the months following Noemi Hernandez's murder, several more girls in Belize City reported a man driving a red car and wearing a stocking mask over his face, who attempted and failed to lure or grab them off the street. He was never identified or caught, and no one knows for certain whether he was the same person responsible for the 5 murders or a copycat emboldened by the city's terror. An unlikely American suspect. Years later, an extraordinary theory emerged connecting the case to one of America's most notorious serial killers, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., known as the Grim Sleeper, who murdered at least 10 women in South Los Angeles. Franklin's killings paused mysteriously for roughly 14 years, from 1988 to 2002, almost exactly bracketing the Belize murders. The connection: Franklin was married for years to a Belizean woman, and one victim's aunt reportedly claimed to have seen him in Belize City around the time of the killings. His van, used in his Los Angeles crimes, was later reportedly found in Belize. It remains circumstantial and unproven. Franklin was never charged in connection with the Belize case. He was convicted in the US in 2016 and died on death row at San Quentin in 2020, taking any answers with him. A cold case with warm evidence. The Belize Ripper case has never officially closed. In 2022, the Belize National Forensic Science Service opened a dedicated cold case laboratory, and officials confirmed that evidence from the Ripper murders still contains usable DNA that can be rescanned with modern forensic technology that didn't exist in 1998. It's a small but real thread of hope. Unlike so many cold cases where the physical evidence has degraded past use, Belize may still hold the genetic key to identifying the person who terrorized its capital city for 2 devastating years. 5 names, still remembered. Sherilee Nicholas, Jay Blades, Jackie Malik, Erica Wills, Noemi Hernandez. 5 girls, none older than 14, whose lives were cut short in a wave of violence that reshaped how an entire country thought about the safety of its children. For their families, there has been no trial, no verdict, no name to attach to their grief, only the DNA evidence sitting in a lab, waiting for the technology, or the tip, that finally closes the case.